All right, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Saturday Standouts. With me, as always, is my co-host Ethan Carboni. How are you doing, Ethan? And we'll get into letting everybody know what we're doing here in a minute. You know, there's a different background than we're used to, so there's some exciting stuff that we're gonna be getting into. But Ethan, how are you doing today, my man?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. I'm excited. I'm about to accept a new job offer, so I'm gonna be getting out of Tallahassee. So that's something that I'm looking forward to. But let's just go ahead and jump into it, man. We got a full night tonight. We got an awesome interview, and without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and bring this guy in. He's a USF defensive lineman, right there in Tampa, Florida, and Rashawn Yates. How are you doing tonight, Rashawn?
I'm good. Y'all good?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Doing well. And actually, the job that I just accepted is in Tampa, so I'm gonna be right there across from my office. Is gonna be right there across from Raymond James Stadium. So I'm pretty stoked about that. But Ethan, you want to go ahead and jump into our first questions for Rashawn tonight?
Yeah, sure. Rashawn, just starting off in your recruiting process. I'm a huge fan of recruiting, 247, all that. I want to work there in the future.
Yeah.
But why did you decide to commit to USF? You had so many offers, including, I believe, 13 Power 5. So what made USF so special over some other top schools like Louisville and Iowa State?
My big thing was mainly I factored in everything pretty much. So I thought about where I'm gonna play at, where I'm gonna live, because for the most part, you're only playing football for 5 months of the year. Other than that, you're just living there. So I chose to live in Tampa. I like living in Tampa. So also at the time it was Charlie Strong that offered me and their staff. So I had a good relationship with the staff and their scheme. Defense was a big thing for me. The scheme where I didn't just go somewhere because of nice jerseys and all this. I just thought I factored into everything pretty much. So that was a big thing. Relationships, where I lived. Also my parents can come to the games, stuff like that. So I factored in a lot of that pretty much.
Yeah, and you're originally from South Florida, I see Port St. Lucie. I've been through there a few times, so being close to family and everything, I guarantee you is probably a huge thing, especially for me as well. I like staying close to home, having family in a drivable range and things like that. But a little bit, you said you were offered by the Charlie Strong staff and everything. How was that transition now with Jeff Scott? I mean, you've been with them for 1 year now. How was that transition, and how are you enjoying the new coaching staff? And he comes from Clemson, so he's part of a big time program and has seen a lot.
Yeah, it's good. It's just a little different because of my old staff being old. It was a lot of older dudes, and it was mostly like since it's Charlie Strong, a defensive minded team. So now we're going to an offensive minded team. From him being an offensive coordinator, it's like more offensive minded in certain aspects. But I like it. You know what I mean? It's at the end of the day, every coach's goal is the same thing, is to win. So if I feel like if their goal is to win and my goal is to win, I think we get along. It doesn't matter what. I mean, that's important to me. So, but yeah, I like him. I like the new staff and the new people we got.
Mentioning winning, you've been there for 3 years now?
Yeah, 3 years.
Yeah. Due to COVID, all athletes were granted an extra year of eligibility. I'm curious, as of right now, do you have any plans for that? Are you planning on using the extra year? Or are you planning on going right to the draft? Just if you have an amazing season, what's the goal here?
I'll probably think about more about that after the season, but it's more, it all depends on the season. So it's all on me pretty much, how I do at the season, and we'll see from there pretty much. It's just how I do this year. After that, then I'll probably figure that out for sure.
Yeah, it's awesome. And then, kind of going off of, obviously we got that extra year of COVID and everything. And there's also new rules in place for the NCAA right now that we just saw happen just about a week ago today, actually, with name, image, likeness being passed by the NCAA. Well, Florida was already going to have that happen, whether the NCAA approved it or not. Florida was going to allow that. And I saw on your Twitter profile, you are now a Barstool athlete. So give us a little background on that and what you plan to do with your name, image, and likeness moving forward.
Yeah, I when I seen everything going on, I just started applying, really, get my name out there. So I really I expect to do a lot with that, because eventually when it's my time to step away from football one day, I want to be an entrepreneur and have my own businesses and stuff like that. So trying to get it started now, get my name out there. And pretty much, yeah, that's my biggest thing is, like, they basically told us, you're going to have to do everything on your own. You got to put your name out there. You got to promote yourself. We can't help you. Nobody's going to help you do it. So my biggest thing is just get my name out there and working hard pretty much just to get out there so I can make money and do everything with my brand pretty much. So it all depends on me at the end of the day, how I do.
No, for sure we're rooting for you. And then going into, like, couple months ago, they announced they're moving to a 12-team playoff.
Mm-hmm.
What's your opinion on that? Should it be short? Should it be a longer playoff? And then potentially, because they're doing it to like influence, have more teams in there, potentially more group of 5 teams. Do you think that potentially that they should split off and do a group of 5 playoff along with the regular playoff?
To answer the first question, I do agree with the 12 team playoff, because if you see it every year, a lot of teams that really should have the chance to make it don't make it. So I mean, it's like, for instance, sometimes the number 5 team, it's only 4 teams that can make it. The number 5 team is probably good enough to beat maybe the number 1 team. They don't ever get the chance. And in schools like my school, like I know who got pretty close with Cincinnati, got pretty close. You know what I mean? If it was this year, the Cincinnati would have been able to have a chance to play against those teams. So I do think that it's a good thing, definitely, because I mean, it's just like pretty much like any like basketball. You know how much teams get a chance to go to the, you know what I mean? They have an actual chance of making it. Now in football, it's 4 teams. So yeah, I like that they expanded it. And the other question, what was your second question again?
Could you see it being more beneficial instead of expanding to do a group of 5 playoff? That way there's no potential complete blowouts in a playoff, and making them, instead of having potential, quote, irrelevant playoff games, kind of like how people say meaningless bowl game, they might just have a full group of 5 playoff where the best group of 5 teams face each other. Then you have the top 4 seeds, top 6 seeds, regardless of conference or whatever, play each other.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that 12-man playoff sounds pretty good. You know what I mean? More teams, you know what I mean? Yeah. That's why I think that's good. It's less complicated. It's like after that, right, you can't say we should have made it in. You have 12 teams. You know what I mean? Never in the sports, right, history of sports, has never been anything like that where you have 12 teams ready to, you know what I mean, get a chance. So, I mean, I think we should be grateful with 12 teams being able to make it, to be honest.
Agreed.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you. I think maybe 12 might be pushing it a little too much.
Might even be pushing
it. What'd you say?
I said it might even be pushing it, so we're
grateful. Yeah, it might be pushing it a little bit. 12 teams is a lot of teams. You know, some teams, you know, you might look at it and be like, you know what, maybe not. So, like, my perfect scenario is I would like 8. I think 8 might be like a perfect amount, but I agree with you. I think the expansion needed to happen because we're all tired of seeing Notre Dame, Clemson, Alabama, at least those 3, and an Oklahoma in there every single year, and it just gets
how it's going to end up. You know how it's going to
I've been bored of that for a while.
Yeah, you know how it's going to end up.
Yeah, and then at that time, if you even look at it from that perspective, ratings for those people watching, that's going to go down because people don't want to continuously watch
that's
the same
what people got to make sense of. It's all about ratings. People watching TV is like, okay, people are going to get tired of. I know they've noticed that the ratings gone down. That's what people understand too. Is like people are like, oh my God, they're giving more people a chance because they want to make it fair. It's not about being fair. They don't care about making it fair. They want more people to watch. Now you
because it brings
people,
in this.
Yeah, it brings in that. That's why people got to realize. So yeah, but a lot of people don't know that. So, but yeah, that's what they're doing pretty much. Yeah.
Moving from the playoff to like how your team's going to do, I talked with like Josh Pate and a couple other analysts, and all the analysts have you seemingly going middle of the pack, anywhere from 5-7 to 7-5. You guys have a very difficult schedule this year. What's going to be some keys to the season, and do you think that you can break those predictions?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's all predictions. You know what I mean? Because sometimes you got teams who are highly rated and they're supposed to bloat everybody and they just don't win anything. And you got other teams where they're not rated nothing and they come up and start playing. So it's all going to depend on how we do, you know what I mean, how we come together, coaches and players as a collective, and how bad we want it. At the end of the day, that's what I feel like. Because as you see, like, even schools smaller than us, sometimes they come up doing some crazy stuff like Coastal. If you would have asked the year, like before the year, if you would have said, do you think Coastal is going to come out here and start beating everybody like that, people would have been like, who is Coastal? Probably. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, so it doesn't matter. I feel like it just depends how we play. We got a good schedule. I'm excited. You know what I mean? So it all depends on how offense plays, how defense plays, and how the coaches come together. It's just all collective.
But yeah, that's awesome to see too. I mean, you guys are going to be playing some big name schools. I mean, just looking at the schedule, NC State and Florida right off the bat. Those are going to be 2, exciting games. BYU, SMU, the Temple, Houston, Cincinnati, and UCF. So y'all got some big name, opponents there on the schedule. So I'm looking forward, to tuning in and watching some of those and, watching you play as well. It's going to be exciting.
Hell yeah. It's going to be good. I think it's going to be good.
All right. I have one last question. Going back to your recruiting process, just because again, that's probably my favorite aspect of college sports.
Yeah.
Do you have any like funny stories during your recruiting process, or like one moment that stands out completely?
One moment that stands out completely to me, probably, I took a visit to Maryland, and they just told me I was taking a visit and everything. Like, yeah, you're gonna come up here, look around the school and stuff like that. And when I got there, they wanted me to compete in their camp. I didn't even know they were having a camp. So I came in regular clothes, and they kept telling me, "Hey, yeah, we want you to do the camp today." And I kept saying like, "No, I'm probably not trying to do it because I wasn't even warmed up. I didn't do anything. I was there I got off the plane and was walking on school. And now they want me to do a camp in 90-degree heat. Eventually, they pushed me to doing the camp. They're like, "Yeah, we'll let you wear gear to get to the camp. We'll give you everything you need." I eventually started doing the camp, and I was damn near dying because I didn't expect to do the camp. So I mean, I'm not gonna lie, them doing that hurt their chances more than it did help their chances because I didn't want to. I just was trying to do a visit, and y'all tell me now I got to do all crazy behind drills in this damn heat. So yeah, that was probably one of them that was kind of like stuck out to me.
And not being prepared, you weren't prepared, so that might hurt you a little bit more than it helps you.
That kind of threw me off a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
Another reason why Maryland finishes at the bottom of the Big Ten every year.
But also talk about your.
All right, Caleb, it's not bad.
What happened? What'd you say? It kind of glitched out real quick.
What'd you say, Ethan?
Your Wi-Fi glitched out. Repeat yourself.
Yeah, it glitched out. I couldn't hear you.
Going back to your recruiting, you took a lot of visits. Every recruit does. What was your favorite, visit? Like, do you ever go to like? I'm trying to look at who you went and visited, but you had some big name schools on your list and not commitment list, but offer list, or you went and visited camps and things of that nature. What was your favorite overall, experience or school when it came to campus, or how beautiful, who did it most the right way that you were like just blown away by the whole thing?
I probably enjoyed maybe the most, I guess you could say, probably USF, only because it's in Florida. I was already committed at the time, so I knew a lot of people on my visit and stuff like that, you know what I mean? So, and plus it was in Florida. I love Florida generally. That's why I stayed, really, because I love Florida. So anything Florida. So I was just like, that's probably, I had the best relationship with my coaches that I committed to. So I probably had to say USF.
Yeah, definitely. And USF, their campus is literally right across from Busch Gardens, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yep, literally right across, 5 minutes down the road.
So how often you make it over there?
It's crazy. I only been there once. That's great. Nah, I only been there. I've been there. It's funny. I went there once because we had a bowl game in Tampa my freshman year. So they took us to Busch Gardens because it's like, I guess some people would think, oh, you go to Busch Gardens all the time. It's like Busch Gardens is expensive. It's not cheap. It's not cheap. I bet you if you ask the UCF players how much times do you go to Universal or Disney World or something like that, they're probably gonna be like, we don't go all the time because it costs money to do that. It costs over $100 to go there every day. So. But yeah, I do a lot of other stuff in Tampa though, but Busch Gardens I don't really go to like that.
Yeah, and then just one more quick thing. I know you had mentioned before we came on, since I graduated from Florida State and I'm a Florida State fan and everything, that you grew up being a Florida State fan and liking them. Going over to the NFL side of things, what is your favorite NFL team?
I'm a Giants fan.
All right, what made you be a Giants fan?
I'm really a fan of like whoever my dad is. So growing up, like my dad's a New York everything fan and a Florida State fan. So like I like the Yankees, I like the Knicks, I like all the New York teams I like, and then Florida State. As for college, that's what I grew up liking. So anything he liked, I just pretty much followed him.
Well, that's awesome. You get some good teams up there in New York, so can't complain there really for you. So anything else, Ethan?
Honestly, just thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Y'all boys keep in contact, bro. It was nice talking to y'all.
Of course.
We will. I appreciate you as well coming on, Rashawn. I'm going to go ahead and grab your number from Ethan if you don't mind. I mean, I'm moving to Tampa here very soon. So I'm gonna try and link up with you, over there in Tampa. We'll get into something.
I'll give you the spots, bro. It's a lot of stuff to do. A lot of stuff to do out here, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. I've been there a few times, but looking forward to moving down there, getting into it even more. And thank you again for coming on.
Yeah, appreciate y'all, man.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. That was a great interview. And, dude, that was only 15 minutes. So, Caleb, you want to move into our next topic?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're gonna keep it here in the group of 5 teams, and speak on that some more. But what a great guy! First off, let me go ahead and say that Rashawn Yates, defensive lineman out of South Florida. Thank him again for coming on. He was an excellent interviewer. I love to or interviewee. I'd love to get him on again. Love to stay in contact with him, like I mentioned before. But thank you to Rashawn for coming on. We'll be able to send this clip over to him if he would like it as well. So. But yeah, going back in, going into, I guess, are they still in the same conference here in the AAC?
Yep.
Yeah, so we're sticking here in the AAC, and this has been a team that has really been picking up on the recruiting trail. I'm sure a lot of you guys who are paying attention to the show right now pay attention to recruiting in college football. So that team that you have seen pick up a whole lot of steam here on the recruiting trail has been SMU over there in Dallas, Texas, the Big D, if you will. They've got some good coaches over there right now. You see what they have been able to build these past couple years. I don't remember who their head coach necessarily is, but I know who their defensive coordinator is, and Jim Leavitt, who is a all-time great defensive coordinator. You've seen him all over the place. He spent time at Oregon when Willie Taggart was up there with him. Eventually went to an analyst role, then went to Florida State and helped out there as well. But going from there, Ethan, tell us a little bit more about what's happening over there in the Big D and what's going on.
All right. So I believe about 3-4 days ago, 4.5, 5-star, whatever the hell you want to call him, Jordan Hudson, SMU's highest ranked commit ever. Obviously, like I just said, committed there. And then as of yesterday, I believe, if not today, this man, Chance Biddle, I believe is his name, 4-star safety, 2 of their top commits ever, just committed within the past week. SMU really just stole a guy from Oklahoma, and then after that, gets a guy from the same exact high school, and they just say, you know what, screw it, we're going to SMU. We're not going to Texas A&M, any Power 5 school. No, we're going to SMU.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is I just want to take a look back at some of their transfers in the past couple of years. They got that quarterback from Texas, I believe, Shane Buechele, who's absolutely amazing to be able to grab him, and the work he was able to do with SMU took them to a winning season for the first time in a long time. Looking at their transfers from this past year, getting a guy in Isaac Slade Matalia from Oregon, getting Jahari Rogers, a corner from Florida, getting a quarterback that it came over from Georgia, a guy from Missouri, Arizona State, North Texas, Texas Tech, 2 guys from Oklahoma, another guy from Arizona State, and a guy from Auburn. So SMU is not playing around right now, not only on the recruiting trail, but more often than the recruiting up to this point has been through the transfer portal, and they're really killing it. But let's go back over to that recruiting, like you were saying.
Like just going before we get into 2021, I just want to go skip ahead a year.
Yeah, I'm looking at 2022 right now.
They got their 2 highest players, Chance Biddle and Jordan Hudson, both of which are top 113 in the country. That's insane. Both of which are top 25 players in Texas. And then they're also adding already they're the 40th national team. It's insane. The fact that SMU was able to do that, and then through this year's recruiting class that they're going to be having this year, Preston Stone, a 4-star quarterback. How is it that an AAC is able to do this? How is it that any team, especially a team like SMU, not been close to the playoffs, not even touched the top 10, they're getting these players?
So first off, you got to give credit to Sonny Dykes. So that's the head coach who I forgot. You got to give credit to Sonny Dykes and what he's been able to do at all levels of recruiting. I mean, recruiting goes to transfers as well. You got to recruit those transfers to come in. But you steal 2 guys, both 4-stars, like you mentioned, top 20 guys in the state of Texas, to be able to come and play for SMU. He is legitimately building this program from the ground up. You remember SMU a while back had to go through all that death penalty stuff. Mm-hmm. One of those teams that had to deal with that. It's not easy to come back for that, and it's not easy to get guys on the train after that's already happened. SMU used to be a powerhouse. if you remember or, you know, are a huge college football fan, you know SMU used to be a huge powerhouse football team, national championships. They were in the conversation for that every single year. And then they got knocked down by, you know, obviously the death penalty. Now they're trying to work their way back, and they're gaining a lot of momentum. Guys are starting to look at them instead of a Texas or an Oklahoma or, you know, a Texas Tech or a Texas A&M.
Well, to be very fair, Caleb, if I'm a recruit and I'm looking at Texas, Texas Tech, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, I'm not seeing playoff success. So if I'm a Texas recruit, I'm a top one, I'm looking at Ohio State, Clemson, Alabama.
Right. And then also, like we had mentioned, or we had talked about with Rashawn earlier, about the expansion of the playoffs into a 12 team. And like Ethan mentioned about the lack of success with those other teams, why not give yourself a better opportunity with what's coming forward now with the expansion of the playoffs within the AAC, where it is winnable and it could be won by anybody. You don't have your upper level powerhouses. I mean, obviously in recent years, you can say Cincinnati, UCF, those, right? But then you look outside of that, it could be a variance at any moment, you know, at any time, one of these teams. I mean, people were talking about SMU maybe doing it a couple years ago with Shane Buechele. So like maybe they were going to go undefeated. So there's a lot here for these guys to be able to work with. So I think it can be a nice an eye candy piece for them. SMU has an opportunity to be able to fill one of these spots once we do expand to that. Yet I get that we are a few years away from that happening, but a lot of these guys that you're starting to see come in now will probably be seniors at that point, you know, when that happens. So at most of these smaller schools, like an SMU, most of these guys stay all 4 years, right? They don't necessarily leave after 3. So you look at it from that perspective. I put into, you know, I thought about it. I was like, well, what about these guys leaving early? And then you think most of these guys who go to these schools, the Cincinnatis, the SMUs, the UCFs, unless they are, you know, next level players, like, I don't know who you want to talk about, like Dylan Gabriel for UCF or guys of that nature who are obviously going to leave, then these guys are going to have chances to be able to get into that college football playoff and make an actual name for themselves and be seen on national television.
For sure. And something I want to bring up just because I love talking about it, this kind of brings back my whole in-state recruitment argument. Oh, it won't work. They'll go to the top schools. SMU's not the top school in Texas. Not even close.
Right, and you see them starting to nab some of these guys. I mean, in 2022, I mean, right now they're only the 48, you know, national ranking. It is early. It's June. We still, or July, excuse me. So we still have another 5.5 months until early signing day. Well, which is pretty much, you know, signing day at this point because most kids do decide to sign on early national signing day. So we are, you know, more than a few months out for that. But at the same time, if you can gain any type of traction this early and get guys to commit, it tells a lot about the way that the program is headed. So, you know, if you're able to get these guys on campus, get them on, especially after the dead period ended, get them on campus, show them what you're about. I mean, if you guys look at these recruiting pictures that guys like Chase Biddle and Jordan Hudson have put out from SMU, they've got a sweet setup for their recruiting pictures. They've got the neon horse with the big D going on in the background. Like, it's a pretty legit setup. SMU's no joke, and they're coming, you know. I have no reason to doubt that SMU is going to be at the top of the AAC for years to come moving forward.
Oh, yeah, for sure, and especially the conference realignment coming up. If what people say is true, UCF goes to either, ACC, SEC. They're not going to Big 12. They're probably going to ACC because it's the weaker conference. And then Cincinnati's screwed in that aspect because they got to go Big 10. There's no other, like, you can argue ACC, but that's not happening. They're not going to add 2 new teams there. They go to Big 10, they're screwed.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen it with Maryland. You know, Maryland switching over from, I mean, even they were in the ACC and then they switched over to Big 10. It's just not the same. I mean, you're even lower on the totem pole now.
Right. And in reality, Cincinnati needs to not just rely on their development. They're going to really have to rely on building up each and every single recruit. Getting like, all right, we just got a high 3-star. Let's get an even higher player. Let's get a 4-star now. They need to, in order to compete with I'm not even going to say Ohio State, Wisconsin. They're going to really need to just beat Iowa. They're going to beat out Iowa for their 4-star linemen, or not really linemen because they're not going to beat out Iowa. They're going to need to beat out for the 4-star quarterback out of Wisconsin, out of Michigan State. They're going to need to beat out all these players that the other schools are known for, and they're going to have to make their own name for each position that they're key on, which as of right now is safety, quarterback, tight end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I completely agree. Shout out to our guy, Matt, for tuning in. As always, he's in here every Wednesday night. We're doing great, Matt. We just had an awesome interview with a USF defensive lineman, Rashawn Yates. If you want to go back and watch that, it was at the beginning of our episode, lasted about 15 minutes. Great little small talk with him. Local guy in Tampa, traveled up from Port St. Lucie from his hometown. Great guy overall, very well spoken. So really enjoyed his time with us. So go back and watch that, Matt, if you haven't already. But yeah, Ethan, there's a whole lot that's going to be changing here in college football. We've talked about it up to this point, but sticking on SMU, the previous year in 2021, they were ranked 51 overall in national recruiting. This year, they're already ahead of that curve at 48, and you can only see them to start to move up. I feel like they're going to gain some traction with now these 2 4-stars, solidified, locked into them, and they can only help with recruiting purposes for them. You get those big name stars, those big stars in there, and they can help recruit guys that, might not have even thought about SMU to begin with. And they can be like, hey, let's go build something at this school. Forget Texas, forget Texas Tech. We're going to, start this thing in SMU, and we're going to give Oklahoma a run for their money for the best team, in this area that a lot of people go to. So I'm really liking what they're doing. They're ranked number 2 in the AAC right now in the rankings heading into early July. So I'm really liking what SMU is doing, really liking what Sonny Dykes is doing. Like I mentioned before, Jim Levin on the defensive end or the defensive coordinator position just brought in a transfer as well from an Oregon linebacker, from a transfer linebacker from Oregon, excuse me, that's a better way to put it, who he previously worked with at Oregon. So this guy knows Jim Levitt. Jim Levitt knows him. They know it's going to fit very well. So I expect a lot of big things from SMU moving forward, especially when it comes to recruiting. And they've been recruiting the hell out of the transfer portal. So, that recruiting goes both ways, transfer portal and, recruiting from high school kids.
For sure. And honestly, this kind of brings up the question. If SMU and all these other, smaller group of 5 schools are able to get the talent and then actually use it correctly and win games, do you start taking down some of these, higher Power 5 schools and shrink them almost to group of 5 level? Like, does Rutgers really deserve to be in the Big Ten? Does Arkansas, as of late, deserve the SEC? Does Vanderbilt deserve the SEC for football? I'd say no, personally. Like, I'm not sure, but I would not mind if you demote Vanderbilt, put UCF in there, see what they do. They might be able to get more than, 1 win a year.
Right. And yeah, it's understandable. Like a conference realignment, I think is probably in dire need at this point. Just based off of what the group of 5 has been able to do. There's a lot of good teams, like we had mentioned before, UCF. You mentioned Cincinnati. You're talking about SMU right now. You look at USF, maybe not quite up to that level, but they have been at one point in time. Then you can also look at a Memphis. Memphis is also one of those really good teams in the group of 5. So, and there's teams in other conferences that don't necessarily live up to that bill. You're talking about Vanderbilt, talking about Maryland. There's teams like that in every single conference that a lot of people can look at and be like, maybe they don't belong here. It's an automatic win on everybody's schedule. It's hard.
Yeah.
I hate to say that, but like you play a Vanderbilt, it's an automatic win. You play a Maryland, probably not as much as an automatic win as a Vanderbilt, but it's right there, So it's one of those things. Nebraska's same thing. It's everywhere, and you can even go to the Pac-12. You got your same teams that do the same thing. So
here's an idea. What if every 8 years you do a conference realignment? Obviously, it's harder, but like you could pitch 10 years if you want it to be even, but 8 years. You get 2 4-year recruiting cycles for all the kids. If a Power 5 school can't do what they should be doing at the Power 5 level, you demote them to Group of 5, and you bring up the closest Group of 5.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be afraid of that, but and like we always talk about how the college football landscape changes because of the NCAA or certain rules that are in place. But ultimately, a lot of the shift in talent level comes down to the play on the field, right? So it comes down to the coaches, it comes down to the players, and if players want to go somewhere else because there's coaches there that are making a connection with these players and are good coaches and can put a great product on the field, then that changes the landscape. Like you're talking about with SMU. SMU is not that great 5 years ago. You wouldn't even talk about SMU 5 years ago. Nobody would talk about SMU. And now all of a sudden here we are talking about SMU. So it can change in a matter of a blink of an eye in 3 years or so. So, I like 8. That sounds good. 8 years, 2 4-year recruiting cycles, see what happens, and then, go from there and realign. Now, is that necessarily the best when it comes to contract negotiations with teams or for university purposes or things of that nature? Maybe not. Maybe not. Most likely not.
Well, yeah. And here's the thing. For sure, all of the smaller Power 5 teams would be pissed. The Illinois of the world, because I'm not going to leave my team out of it. We suck sometimes. Emphasis on sometimes. But you know what? Yeah, they're going to be upset about that because if they know that. But here's the thing. If you know you're at risk, and if you say we're going to demote the bottom 2 teams in each Power 5 conference and raise the top 2 in every group of 5 conference.
Ranked overall through that 8-year process, I would assume.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah, of course. I see no reason why you're not telling these teams, these Power 5 teams, oh, it's okay, we don't need to put the money in there. Because I don't know. That's an embarrassment. If you're really that low on the totem pole over an 8-year span and you couldn't get anything together, when's the last time Vanderbilt won a bowl game? You want to check that for me really quickly?
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, I'm sorry. If you really think that a Power 5 team, Vanderbilt's known for baseball, but you got to put one winning season together. You shouldn't be the school that's known for beating one FCS team and then getting blown out of the water every single other game. You have it there for me? Yeah or no?
I'm trying to find it. I'm not seeing a whole lot. I mean, it's been a while since they've even been in a bowl game. So it's kind of hard to go and find that because there's not a whole lot. Because I'm trying to look and it's just not a whole lot popping up.
I think I found one. They won the last one in 2013.
Okay.
Against Houston. The BBVA Compass Bowl. 41-24. And then in 2018, apparently in 2016, they also made it.
Which they can do, I mean, but you got to look at the head coaches there at the time. I mean,
right.
The head coaches that were successful there have been Derek Mason and James Franklin. Those have been the 2 most successful coaches at Vanderbilt that I have ever seen. And they both got, promotions. They both went somewhere else to be in a better situation. And I mean, look what James Franklin's been able to do with Penn State as a prime example. James Franklin's a great head coach, but even when he was at Vanderbilt, he still couldn't get it to that level. It's not going to ever be at that level for a team like Vanderbilt because the main focus at Vanderbilt is academics first. Let's not get that wrong. Academics come first, and even to play football there, you have to be able to meet a certain criteria of GPA and everything to be able to play football there. So that's an academics first school. I mean, you have to have that happen with every school, but the level of academic achievement that you have to have coming out of high school to be able to go play at Vanderbilt is extremely high. And more times than not, I don't want to, put this as a general, thing. More times than not, guys who are academically higher, aren't necessarily as focused on their, sports career or their athletic career moving forward. Do they obviously want to play? Yeah. Does it turn out for them fine? Okay, absolutely. You look at guys like Jay Cutler, prime example, coming out of Vanderbilt, had a successful, NFL career. So, I mean, it happens.
I wouldn't say successful. It's Jay Cutler.
It was semi-successful. He did okay. He did better than probably a whole lot of other Vanderbilt football players who ever came out of there. So, I mean, there's a whole lot of things that can be talked about, but it's like also at the end of the day, if you do these conference realignments and some of these schools are like, well, it's just not going to work. We're just going to cut the football program. What do we start seeing a minimalization of the football programs in college football? Because of that, we're going to put our money elsewhere. Using Vanderbilt as an example again, if it's not successful for years after years after years after years, and then you get demoted, and then you're in a conference that you still aren't successful in, what says them from being like, screw putting money into the football program? Let's put all our money into basketball and baseball and every other sport, and then make those be the most successful as they are, which they already are.
Right. Or could have the opposite effect and they end up putting more money into it because, let's be honest here, if you take money out of the program because it's doing bad, you're not going to be successful because you take money out. You have to keep putting more in and give them more resources to use. Like, Vanderbilt's not successful. Truthfully, I think that they'd have to go, where do you go from there? Sun Belt, MAC?
Yeah, somewhere like that.
Like, here, I'm going to go look at SEC standings. So, if you just look at SEC standings football from last year, let's see, just taking a nice quick look at this. The worst teams, would you say that we're going this by conference or overall record?
I would go overall.
All right.
Because out of conference games mean a lot. They do mean a lot.
All right, yeah. All right, so in that case, Vanderbilt, South Carolina are gone. In that case. So let's demote them to the Sun Belt. Right? Would you say that that's fair instead of the MAC?
Yeah.
Sun Belt, yeah. So if you do that and you take the football team, you end up with, let's see, Louisiana not Monroe, my bad, Lafayette. I like Lafayette, not Monroe. And then you have Coastal Carolina. Obviously, this is just going off last season, not the past 8 years. We're going off the past 8 years. It'd be Appalachian State and probably Troy, to be honest with you. But
no, you also think who was back in there? MTSU used to be in there.
Yeah, exactly. I'm saying if we're just going off last year, you take Coastal, you take Louisiana, and then you move them up. And then if you put them in the SEC, although in reality you're probably going to have to figure out, rank the best. You put the best group of 5 teams, put them in the best.
I feel like it wouldn't be like one switch for another. There's obvious other conferences that would need to be aligned.
Right. I'm just putting this one in there because we were talking about Vanderbilt. So Vanderbilt, South Carolina gets demoted. In reality, South Carolina does get enough recruits that they would probably bounce back up eventually. But hell, I wouldn't be surprised. You're seeing Tennessee, Kentucky's on the rise. Missouri's iffy. But you see Missouri.
Missouri's on the line. I would say Missouri would be on the line.
Missouri, Mississippi State, Arkansas, Ole Miss, they're good. Louisiana, Coastal Carolina, they're competing like hell. And after that big year, if they go to the SEC, if either one of these two teams make a bowl game in the SEC their first year, they start getting more big recruits.
Yeah.
They bring in. And over those 8 years, if they can just build something up to where they're a mid-tier SEC team, they're gonna get better recruits. If you can get even higher to where you're the Georgia, Florida level, even better. Is that likely? Not necessarily, but as of right now, Louisiana is the best football team in Louisiana. So,
yeah, I mean, you could go so many different directions. I mean, if we wanted to deep dive into it, we definitely could. But just going off the cuff here, that's probably as much information as we can go off of. We don't have time to do that, live on air or anything like that. But for, the last couple minutes, Ethan, I kind of want to, I know we've talked about it the past 2 weeks, and that's the NIL, the name, image, likeness stuff. We've talked about it before it came down. We talked about it right before it was about to come down in the news that broke, and we haven't been able to talk about what's happened since. We haven't been able to dig into what's going on. I don't know if you're familiar or have seen a lot of the things that guys are doing. I'm sure you have. We've seen things from Bo Nix being immediately at midnight on Wednesday night and going into the first, signing a deal with Milo Sweet Tea. Guys like Mackenzie Milton and De'Aaron King from Miami coming together to be co-CEOs of a company called Dreamfield that is going to be championing for athletes through a safe and compliant NIL marketplace. And the co-founders are Mackenzie Milton and De'Aaron King, obviously. So they're kind of just creating a whole different things for, other players to join and, kind of create I don't even know what to call it, just a kind of group to where they can go out, help these athletes reach other opportunities, ultimately is what they're doing. And so creating that, they obviously brought in business guys to be able to run the thing with the CEOs and things of that nature, which is an awesome accomplishment for them to be able to find or, go ahead and found. It's awesome. And then you see Barstool get involved, like we mentioned earlier with Rashawn. He's now a Barstool athlete. Amari Gaynor is a Barstool athlete. There's a lot of people out there that are becoming Barstool athletes as well.
To be very fair.
Sorry?
To be very fair, all you need to do is play college, send them an email, they'll accept you. They're just trying to get everyone out there. Right,
and I understand that. And what these companies like Barstool and what the company Dreamfield Co. is, which is the one with De'Aaron King and Mackenzie Milton is that they're trying to find opportunities for these student athletes to be able to use their name, image, and likeness to profit off of it, no matter what it is. It can be a wide range of things. I mean, some of these athletes are rowers. Some of these athletes are tennis players. Some of these athletes are gymnasts. Some of these athletes are track stars. Like, it's a wide range of things, and they're all good at different things. All of these kids are just like everybody else. They have a wide range of interests, right? So whether that's getting into the NFT game, whether that's getting into I forget who did it the other day, but they signed a sponsorship with Raising Cane's, which is a huge fast food restaurant in the South. So it's not necessarily things that they're interested in, but it's ways for them to make money and market themselves. You see more of the big name players getting deals like that. But then you look outside of that, all these small name players, they're still getting, these opportunities through Barstool, through a Dreamfield company like that, to be able to find opportunities for them, whether that's music. I read the other day, some offensive lineman or something is now going to be able to, sing country music because that's what he does. He wasn't able to do it before. Now he can put out singles. Now he can do all this. So after we spoke about it before, what are your thoughts? Do you think it's getting a little too out of hand? I know a lot of people have had, takes on that saying, hey, this is already getting out of hand and it's just started. But to me, I don't think it's necessarily out of hand. I think these kids need opportunities, no matter who they are. And if some of them get better opportunities than others, so be it. But no matter what money's being put in your pocket, at least a little bit more than you're already getting is nice.
Agreed. Like, here's the thing, though. I will say this. I interviewed Akron's quality and control coach for my other podcast. He has a tweet out there that I really want to say. I agree with him on this. You want to capitalize on the NIL, you better be really good at football and something else. Rapping, dancing, stock tips, comedy, video games, fitness, cooking. Why do you follow accounts? Because you're passionate and you want to find others that are too. Like, in reality, if you're not a big name guy, you're not getting these huge brand sponsors. There might be a podcast like us where you're able to charge them. Certain players might start doing that. All right, whatever. But if you want to use your account, you need to be good at something else. It's going to be really hard for smaller time players to do that. Luckily, the USF Tampa market, Mr. Yates is okay. But if you go down to New Mexico State, you think there's a whole lot of stuff down in Albuquerque, wherever it is located?
Right.
No, not really.
So it's opportunistic. Ultimately, you take your opportunities where they rise, and you could even see that start to swivel towards kids going to places that have bigger markets, like a USF, because it's in Tampa. Tons of opportunity in Tampa. You could see kids going even to Vanderbilt, because it's in Nashville. It's right there. Tons of opportunity. You could see kids start moving up north, going to Syracuse, because up north there's tons of opportunities because there's just an overwhelming wealth of it. So that could be an instance of what happens. But you're right. I completely agree with that statement that the Akron coach said. So I mean, if you don't have an ability or some sort of hobby or thing that you're into,
It'll be
what
hard.
are you going to do? But I mean, most of us do. You know, most of us don't sit on our ass all day and do nothing. You know, we have something that we're we have something you're interested in, like people were saying, video games or something like that. For you, it's podcasting. For you, it's sports. That's it. You know, there's kids out there that love to do that. Excuse me. Going through a little bit of cold and sinus problem right now, so I apologize. But there's kids that like to write. You know, I've already seen kids in basketball specifically, you know, sign deals with companies such as, not necessarily fan-sided, but, you know, things similar to that, signing deals with them to be able to blog, which is ultimately writing about their experiences in their respective sports or the respective team and what's going on. So, I mean, there's all kinds of different opportunities. I mean, look what, I don't know if you saw the Dylan Gibbons stuff. The former Notre Dame offensive lineman transferred to Florida State, and he for him to use his name and image and likeness, what he did is created a GoFundMe for one of his good friends who has some serious, you know, problems and illnesses that he can't really control. And he really has built a relationship with this guy, and Dylan Gibbons wants him to come to the Notre Dame Florida State game because he originally met him at Notre Dame. And then, you know, he transferred here to Florida State. And of course, that's a perfect time to do it. Why not try and bring him down to see Florida State versus Florida State, Dylan's current team against his former team, and have your friend that you've created this relationship with that has all these issues that is not able to do it. Not only that, but his family is probably up to their heads in medical expenses. And he started a GoFundMe for it. Players in the past weren't able to even start a GoFundMe for anything, you know, because of the rules. You weren't able to use your name, image, or likeness even for good. Now they're being able to use it, for instance, like that. Start a GoFundMe. He set it at 30,000 just to get him down. Flight expenses, travel, stay, you know, tickets, all that cost a lot of money. Not to mention all the things that you have to put in place for somebody who has things that they can't travel normally like a normal person. So it's more expensive. Obviously, people can look at that and be like 30,000 to, you know, travel from one place to another for a football game. It's bigger than that for somebody who has issues and can't make it.
Sure.
And it raised over 30,000 in less than 24 hours. Like, seeing something like that happen from name, image, and likeness really, you know, hit home with me because I love that stuff. I love when you see those stories, you know, it makes you almost come to tears. So seeing something like that happen is amazing. And he just, you know, he was so overwhelmed with joy, and he was like, I'm in tears about this happening and how quick it happened. And I didn't expect this and things of that nature. But that's what happens when you give kids the ability to be able to go and do these things. Are kids honestly going to go out and try to make money? Obviously, because most kids, that's what they're thinking about. You know, let's make the most money we can. But then you have guys like a Dylan Gibbons that is going to be able to do something great with their name, image, and likeness. And that's something that is not only going to take money for him to get down here, but you're giving money to his family to help with the debt that they're most likely in from all those past surgeries and everything that the kid has had to go through. You know, like, you're helping a family out, and that's amazing to be able to see online.
Like a couple of years, you remember like Tyler Strong with Purdue, that thing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Imagine if NIL came out, every single player could have posted something instead of just the university. Like, obviously a lot of people already donated to help him. Like, imagine with the NIL, this is going to have so many different passionate fan bases. Iowa has the Iowa Wave to the Children's Hospital.
That would be huge.
If something happens with one of those kids, they can, and they're close with one of them. All right, we're back.
Yeah, we're back. Did you get everything out, or you want to keep going?
All right, you're up.
Oh yeah, okay. So I mean, yeah, sorry, we lost it for a second there with the Wi-Fi or whatever's going on. But yeah, I think ultimately, you know, just an overview, I think ultimately this is going to do way more good than it is going to do bad. You're obviously going to run into your obstacles as you do with anything, but at the end of the day, it's going to be good not only for players but people outside of players, and that's been exemplified by Dylan Gibbons. First off, it went mainstream. It really blew up on the internet. It was crazy. So I'm very excited to see the future of the NIL, how it changes, how it progresses. But if the NCAA starts setting limits, then you can start seeing problems arise. Right now, I think we're okay, but also those limits could come into benefit. It's to be seen. We don't know yet, but right now, as of now, I am absolutely loving everything that's going on. I think it's a great thing for these student athletes. I think it's a great thing for people who are just associated with these student athletes, family members, friends. They're going to be able to benefit off it as well. I think it's just an overall great thing.
I 100% agree with you.
Yeah, and anything else you want to get off your chest or anything, Ethan, before we go ahead and log off for the night?
Honestly, no, not really. This was a great episode. I'm going to be honest with everyone. This entire thing was unplanned besides that interview. We just went right off our heads, and we did a great job. So I hope you all enjoyed this.
Yeah, absolutely. The interview was planned. There's a lot of moving parts for that as well. Some things out of our control. But we made it work. We had our questions. We had a great interviewee in Rashawn Yates, defensive lineman out of USF. He's going to be a senior, but he also has that next year of eligibility. So you could see him playing for 2 more years at USF. Nice defensive line guy, brings a lot of passion, very well-spoken man. We appreciate him coming on, absolutely. We also talked about, a little bit of conference realignment when it comes to smaller schools like AAC, and then not so good teams in power conferences like SEC, like Vanderbilt, or teams like that. We talked about SMU specifically, about what they have been able to do on the recruiting trail. And then at the end here, we just dropped a little bit of, what's going on from the NIL after the fact that it has been pushed through and approved by the NCAA and all the things that are going on with that. With that being said, guys, I want to thank you all for coming in here, joining us. Of course, if you have been watching us, you have seen the ticker go down at the bottom, giving you all of our sponsorships. Head over to mybookie.ag and use code USN100 for double your first deposit. Put in $50, get $50 of free play. A lot of stuff, a lot of sports going on. NBA Finals specifically, Stanley Cup tonight. So get in there maybe a little bit, 10 minutes before a game. Head over to rxhemp.com. Use code rxhemp-USN for 10% off every single one of your purchase, guys. It is an all-natural CBD pain relief cream. It's an amazing. Head over to our shop at teespring.com/stores/unwrapped. Get all of your favorite unwrapped gear, whether it's a t-shirt, a hoodie, a sticker, whatever it may be. I think we even have fanny packs. You guys are into fanny packs. You like to go to, amusement parks or everything like that. Head over there to teespring.com/stores/unwrapped. Get all your favorite merch there. And then also go to our Patreon. Head over to patreon.com. Look up Unwrapped Sports. Join us. We have a $5 and a $10 tier where you're able to get access to a 24/7 Discord that has exclusive gambling picks in there. Our guy, Prop Money, Corey, always putting out some hammers when it comes to gambling picks and everything like that. Also, at the $5 level, you get entered into an Amazon gift card giveaway. At the $10 level, you get entered into a jersey or memorabilia giveaway. And that's not only just a jersey or memorabilia item. Those are signed jersey or memorabilia items. So $10 a month gets you into that running for each of those giveaways, guys. We really appreciate you for tuning in. Thank you, Ethan, for being a great co-host, for getting, Rashawn on here. I couldn't have done it without you, man. You pretty much were the backbone to that whole thing. So thank you again.
Of course. Working on a couple more for next week.
Yes, sir. We're gonna keep pumping this stuff out for you guys. And we appreciate you coming in and look forward to seeing you next week. This has been another edition of Saturday